So the next person is next organization, Southeast Sound Salmon Enhancement Group, Baldino. Cole is also a dirt board member. Yeah. We're really happy to have you today.
Thanks for being here. I'm really excited to start to share some of this work with everyone, because I get the privilege and pleasure to travel around the watershed where I can guarantee you these 90% of the streams never accept flood. And so basically, a really good foundation for the work done presenting on today, presenting on our recovery strategy we covered, and then our work moving to the middle of Deschutes watershed. A lot of that centered around habitat, obviously, but also the plant segment. Basically, the groundwork of the plant segment is a math process. So we're out there trying to better the particular health and terminal state, so it doesn't just end up halfway. So before I start a lot of unboxing issues, a lot of the groundwork and science has been made by the Swansdown tribe. I'd like to read this excerpt from the 2015 biological report. And that is the recovery strategy for coastal salmon in the Deschutes River is focused on supporting their life history needs throughout the watershed. The broader services begins with spawning, egg incubation, early raising, and portions of the watershed, merge progressively downstream to support later stages of the freshwater life, reaching the alpha. And that's the goal, and that's the process that we're using. We're starting in the central watershed, addressing the limiting factors, strategically setting ourselves up for success moving throughout the watershed. So the upper watershed, the Deschutes really has the salmon season, right? We got this big area from mile 41, the upper Deschutes Falls, which also happens to be only public access to the upper Deschutes. That falls after about 30 or 41. The species subject with the caps, the last two months of upstream migration of co-hosts, the 11 coastal cutthroat, and resident trout. Obviously, you know, the cutthroat, resident trout are above falls as well. And there's a turtle Chinook fishery on the Deschutes. This work doesn't only include the main stem miles of 31 and 41, it includes tributaries of all, Mitchell, Barry Johnson, and Thurston. So you can see in that map, that highlighted area, all these tributaries along the southern slope. The upper watershed accounts for about 90% of all salmon spawning. The river loss 31 to 36 that we've been identified by the range report as the focus for stopping plant study. So the upper Deschutes is the #1 priority for rising team cancer restoration. That's backed by science from our DNB, our 2021 strategy update. This river is, like a lot of other rivers in our energy, this is 41 main stem miles and that is a lot of potential habitat for salmon. It is the team developed plant setting, temperature, and some other parameters in the river, and we really break it into about 3 features, right? What I'm talking to you today about is the upper watershed, that's really forestry and these tributaries. Middle watershed is farming and agriculture, and then you get into lower urbanized species, water. Some of the limiting factors that we see in the Deschutes that we're trying to address these projects is one, the big overarching theme, the lack of complex habitats, both in the stream, in the main channel, but also off-stream habitat throughout the floodplain. We experience really high summer waters with these Deschutes, kind of see that graph, and it doesn't take a typical trend where it heats up as it moves downstream and kind of goes to the ebbs and flows. In-stream flows are also an issue with the Deschutes. When I started to talk about the flashiness of this river, you see these super high spikes throughout the winter as you get rain on snow events, and then they become trickle in summer. And then finally, plant sediment, like I mentioned, this is a natural process for rivers and watersheds. We're just out there trying to get the bones, or continuously security determines speed. So the flashiness of the Deschutes River is really driven through precipitation. You don't have glaciers, you don't have summer snow and waters like our neighbors in the Swally and beyond. Your precipitation in the watershed. That poses serious levers for downstream communities and impacts, especially in the light of climate change. The system is the first to feel those effects. You can really monitor this again in talking about the watershed and you guys have 2 public agencies throughout the Deschutes. So we haven't logged on to the GIS before, publicly accessible data. Looks a little bit like this. This is kind of the yearly scale of the Deschutes. I think this is important to kind of use as reference. You can see on the side there, we look at talking 2 feet per second. That's how we measure the flow. The Deschutes and the average year ranges anywhere from about 3,000 CFS in the winter, all the way down to about 50 CFS in the summer. And you can see that these spikes are relatively quick, they rise quick, and they fall quick. That's angry water that we usually don't like to see throughout water. So to do an ownership a little bit, Jason talked about it, but for hazardous the majority of ownership in these other watershed, and it really gives us a great opportunity to one, work with a single landowner, but really work across a large scale. All we're talking about is miles and miles of river, and that's the scale that we work on to get this out of it. There are some small private parcels nestled into this focus landscape. We've done outreach and work with them as well. But I mentioned limited public access of this area, which also means limited access to the river. To bring some of those big machines and do work. So a lot of that is income would be there, but get to that a little bit later. This is what some of the areas look like around those private parcels. A lot of folks who have been historically built in the level training are experiencing hardships as well. So around area, like I said, we're working at a really big scale. So we broke it up to about 18 different features and units, all differentiated by either land, geomorphic properties. And we broke this down in the prioritization. Right, we don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars to spend on these projects, so we're going to need to prioritize where we're going to do this work, and all that prioritization is based on biological and ecological gain. So since I mentioned that a lot of you have been able to access the upper watershed, I thought I'd share a couple pictures to give you a perspective of where we're looking. You can see here, reach really lack, large-wood, LWD, offshore habitat, complex. That photo on the left there, straight onto this channel with absolutely no habitat and no connection to the slope thing. You can see gravel bars, black bars, and water side channels. This right here is our priority reach, our number one priority for ecological gain. You can see the differences in the trees and canopy, but there is slope-thing potential, right? But I challenge you to find one piece of large wood in these pictures, which is lacking that large wood. That's going to create that complex habitat and then moving up those elements. We really focus around the tributaries. Some of these tributaries can be 4 degrees Celsius cooler in the summer. They also account for about that 90% of all spawning. So they're really important, not only for adults but juveniles as well. So we focus a lot around these confluences in those tributaries. And then pond sediment, right? Landslides are a natural process. When this sediment has the opportunity to drop out suspension into floodplains, right? As we start to get floodplain connectivity, and these waters rise, and you have suspended sediments, as they move into slower areas and relatively off channel, they drop out into the floodplains, they nutrients for the wet area. It is a holistic process-based system. Just don't have that. And so what we're going to do to fix that, basically gain that connectivity, was the ground was laid in 2015 with this biological report on the sheets. This project is aimed to address limiting factors, is on its all improving capacity as well. We designed a scalable irrigation plan so that as money as well as wood becomes available, you hit the ground running and you have to step fast. Like I said, a lot of this work is backed by science, so we have really clear goals and objectives about what we're trying to meet, how we're going to do it. Our 2 main goals are to achieve at least a 70% increase in fine sediments, as well as achieve at least 25% increase in marginal food grade. And that's a big number. We're going to do that by putting 12,000 pieces of large wood across the upper basin. That's 2,500 pieces, at least 2 foot of DBH, full trees with blue walls dashed, almost 10,000 pieces of back wood, and we're going to tip another about 400 trees, leaves and all, into the tree. And so we kick that off, Jason really kind of gave a nice segue with this project in 2023. Perhaps was able to identify specifically some concept of input and road washout. You can see here is the road jumps channel, washout those parallel voltage water roads where it's decommissioned, and then jump back to this main channel. So it gave us an opportunity to one, get machines into the area, but also get wood off Symposium. So this project was only about half a mile, but it really was kind of the pilot project concept of the greater work that we're about to do. I do know that this is the only access that we're implementing with machines. This is the only section that we're saying no rise. And what that means basically, when you take a large volume of wood, put it in water, and you get a rise, right? You fill your pump all the way full and try to put ice in it, you're gonna overfill that pump. And so that's an easy way of saying that we work with FEMA to make sure that all the flood maps are updated because we're putting large volume of wood in the river. That's not the case with the study. Our goals here were to increase complex habitats, reduce those fine sediments, and then improve this restoration concept, as well as experiment with significant of logging. So you can see here on this design page, there's a lot of different types of logging design. We're monitoring these over time to see what works with issues, what regional floodplains, what creates the best habitat. So we have to work with the summer of 2023. We brought in a lot of wood that was able to get sourced for housing. We really developed a model working with the housing team. And I don't only work with Jason, I work with harvest managers, the legal teams. We really have a great team of folks over there at the Delphine Farm. We're creative thinkers and able to get us to look at projects lost harvest needs. So like I said, there was a road washout, we lost access to that harvesting, and we were able to go and salvage the trees and put them back together. So it was a win-win going there. And just right after construction, you can see that there was a real increase on wood throughout the channel. None of those pictures I showed you earlier have a link wood on the landscape. You can see right here about sites and top. And so proving that it works to help you create habitat is the dropout fine center. You can see right here, fresh off construction, there's a lot of exposed wood, it's really engaged in that channel, creating that habitat. But after a couple of weather, we actually got a 2-year event, just about 4,000 DFS. A couple months after implementation, you can see the amount of one, large village backed up behind the structure, and two, the amount of sediment that's dropped out behind this blockade. The same goes with wood and large wood throughout the system. Wood is sediment, which is really big sediment. So you can see here, we're really focused on floodplain roughness. Basically, creating areas that sediments can be trapped, woods can be trapped on these gravel bars in the floodplain. It's clear right after implementation that we're starting to trap this wood. So incidents that the street fell down right below our lodgings. That's like the natural processes that we want to promote the landscape. And with restoration, we're just trying to keep the system kickstart, but I can get better over time and really bolster these natural processes. So we have some momentum going into the watershed. We proved this concept. We have really great projects. We created really great habitat for starting to see the ecological response. So we expanded that design with about 14 miles of the upper issues, about 7 miles of main stem habitat at warehouse falls, and then about 4 more miles into the trace. All this additional work is being managed all factors and became Bruce designed to creativize, right? You want this river to rise during flooding and meet these floodplains. You have to do that habitat, drop those sediments out of suspension. We built this on a more scalable, based on wood availability and money, and we've got to speed these obstacles. So these projects are not just going to look like one thing, they be complex, so we can get ready to be able to thrive in this landscape. This is the stuff that I really like to figure out about, and I think this is almost hard work in a way. These are a couple of examples of our designs here. You can see the channel types, range channel standing where we got this big amounts of wood across the entire channel, all the way down to these single pieces that are going to be a little bit old and rearrange themselves as the river wants to do with them. We're also typically trees from our area, right? One of the benefits of this undisturbed landscape and watershed is that we have really healthy impacts that areas. We can take 1 or 2 of those trees and help accelerate that process and take them into the water, right? That's what they would be naturally in that environment. And also they would be prescribed, also feel good a little bit with the landscape changes over time. Here's just a couple more examples of our design, you know, we're trying to build a big monster channels in there, hundreds and hundreds of pieces of wood, all the way down to single pieces, and you can see not all the wood is in the main stem. There's where it doesn't floodplain area, not trying to have it to a big tree go over because anything else goes on it. Again, a lot of wood, all throughout the main stem, also throughout, but it really is the design and engineering stuff. See a lot more of this. I've got QR code in presentation, but these are some of these design typicals, right? This is a channel stabilizing across the entire channel, built with about 500 plus pieces, full trees. Again, some of the complexities to margin changes really meant to promote scour, create complexity in habitats and resting pools. See them mixing small trees in. The benefit of small trees is that it's not just a stick. You're getting the branches, you're getting the needles. That's what holds on to this mindset and it slows down water as it's moving really, really fast. So actually for designing the life, you have to go through a building process, you know, doing all of this at once. You have to do a lot of hydraulic modeling. So the next slide we're going to show you are basically the concept that this water is going to slow down and is going to be going through this flood everything. One thing to know is that we keep all the last on this property. So that's the benefit of working with house like miles and miles further that we can create a lot of guys but keep it on that property. Right? There's no insurable structure, or visit the flood plain and keep flood insurance. That's kind of like that. So this is what it looks like from a modeling perspective. Right? To the top there, current conditions, there's no wood, the water is basically shooting through the streets, fire hose. You see all that red, that's really high velocity. We have issues with the shoots where these big sand, primarily are hanging out in the watershed, and then the water rises really, really quick. They don't have a long-term habitat to weather the storm, find easy resting water, they get pushed out and have to wait for their rain. Not physically fit to be large capital wastewater quality, or two moving from salt water. So we see a lot of mortality due to non-swimmers. We just compare the velocity issues from the lack of off-term habitat. You can see down here in the lower section of the slide, a lot of that red cools off. But also you get a lot of inundation, that blue in the floodplain. That's that connectivity and the connection that we want to see by having volumes of oil with the main center pushing our water out into the floodplain. Again, just another example of how this program works. White rate of reduction velocity remains then through connectivity of the floodplains, pushing out water laterally, letting these side channels, letting these relevant valley wall and upper wall there. That's here. And so once the college talked a lot about plan or design and proof of concepts. Well, we've got about 14 miles of the restoration that's millions and millions of dollars. So we're currently planning the phase one and we start becoming excited. New Washington's RCOs, $7 million. We have like $10 million ask the state of Washington, the floodplains design program. That's a program that's been in the legislature with all of the annually for. So as this creates some kind of message, we see about the use of something floodplains design program, maybe grant and budget, this kind of on all projects. Everyone was people we have to work with to support that program. We're also working to purchase 30 acres of trees from warehousing. Sorry, 30 acres of trees that we can put back into the river. Straight on warehouse bed with grow trees, where we can preserve trees. That's the very part of the partnership as well as the creative ways of harvesting this, giving the law access to what we can go in and use the trees for restoration. We're continuing to learn from cosmetic trade monitoring and seeing how this habitat adapts and creates. But ultimately, we're going to think that it's 14 miles of work over a 3-day period between 2027 and 2030. We're doesn't stop there though. So we're trying to get in line for the next phase after 2030. We're here with downstream to the middle watershed. I mentioned this transition between upper watershed and middle watershed moves from agricultural forestry really went from low headwaters to a predominantly agricultural and taking that watershed. So we define the watershed as per miles 30 to 17. There is some public access, trails left available by right from the end of this area, but still it's very common in California. So 2025, Secretary of Group awarded a grant to start restoration planning, design, and outreach to these areas. Our target is large across the ocean, but 30 passion, off-channel habitat, soil riparian reforestation. The riparian zone is the strip of forest right next to the river. It's really important for one, that future project moving to be habitat, but two, shade water. Something that lasts grass and things so large as those decades. That riparian area is pretty good design setting because it knows no end in sight. So we've identified 174 parcels, not only identified the parcels based on the amount of potential gain we can get. Anyone in this room has family members, owns property in the middle of the watershed, let's definitely talk after this. I'm sending you that pretty soon. This is an example of kind of dynamic nature of the middle Deschutes. It's a natural, beautiful process to wash our rivers, but it isn't without development like the roads next door. So you can see over time these rivers become really dynamic, and it's, nature washing up this road. I'll do it again. You can see, it's nice and mossy, we got agricultural fields right there, roads along to the left. And over time, that was trying to reclaim floodplain, but we build things in a way. So how can we work with local communities to kind of consider loss to them themselves? And so again, in 2023, we worked through the concept of this, which is what I'll show as well. We worked with the Center of National Information about the 21 who often retired in multi-cultural field. We got to work in the floodplain about 11 acres. This was the old avalanche, no trees in the right area. There's a lot of unsettling, so it's been channelized. So the project included this monitoring and offshore habitat creation, over 11 acres of floodplain. Google Maps actually called our restoration projects in the middle, so you can see these kind of before conditions. You got that low agricultural field. You can see that lane right down there in the bottom has no trees. We're doing a lot of work. Then after we go that's the option of the second there. You got really slow water. You see trees starting to grow in that agricultural field. And you can see the water is tricky, right? This is during flood. You understand you really want to be in this big area, especially babies, and you want to leave off and these off-channel habitats back here, these deeper ponds, and that's slow water. And this is what it looks like at its year flood. This is what we need for little Deschutes to really drop that sediment down, right? All of that dirty water that's throughout this field is going to drop that sediment down. It's going to create nutrients for the next generation of trees throughout that riparian area. This is what we want. You don't want fireworks effects. You've got the single channel, just pushing sediment with any month of any kind of it. This is what we're going for, and so this is what we're achieve. We prove that concept, so we're trying to work with on our next stage restoration of Deschutes. I want to leave some time for questions and discussion on this. I'm just going to give a shout out to some of our project partners. Obviously, Barry Hauser's at the table, Center of National Management and Managers, Slots County, I was front and center, and everyone else who worked with these guys. Really good work. I mentioned the QR code is going to be really long to some of these designs. Scan that QR code, go to the next or not. Line really details reach by reach all of these designs and next steps. So with that, I'm happy to have some discussion, face some questions, and I can get it like that.
Well, thanks so much, Nicole. Very, very interesting. You're getting really creative with these dams. I'm just wondering about the obvious, which is, are you introducing any beavers? They have a real technique too, and they have to be considered as part of your.
Yes, thank you for the shout out to beavers. We are working on a potential relocation plan with the upper Deschutes. There is a ton of beaver activity already in the upper Deschutes. You see that where we get a little bit of blockchain habitat. For those who know that are wrong, the beavers are the keystone species, just like salmon. They're so integral to this landscape, they create that blockchain habitat, they create that flood risk reduction in the lower ocean, right? Especially in headwater. You hold on to water. If you take a headwater, so you get more flow in the sun, you get less flow, and then you hold the water, you can hold on to that. So to answer your question, yes, we're working with the beavers to try to give them the food, riparian area to build the anti habitat, kind of reconnect floodplain so that they have areas that they can build dams and lodges, not just the mainstem, because as that water rages through the mainstem, you can't connect to the floodplains, it's going to wipe out the areas, it's going to wipe out and so here's your question, yes, we need very important area. One more question. And I'll wrap all day.
What's the longevity of providing the structures since they're wood and there's already snow events, and then will it be naturally improved once they're breaking and brought out?
Yes, the question was, what are the lifespans of species? I mentioned, right, we're more restoration to get natural processes and care. So we're not expecting these structures to last, will be replaced in 100+ years, but we're basically getting to the roots of bonus. A kickstart and restart the process. So we designed structures, some of these really big kind of block catching structures and one of the key pieces. And so that's really important part of the lack key pieces and it's really made it all over that used to be in the rivers. That's what's stable catches as well. And so we're designing this structure to imitate these key pieces and stay all the way over 100 flood. But we're also very structures that like move into the flood, like sheds the road to the end of the flood, and waste single piece where it's going to bounce around. But the meter functions, these structures will have been built up, but we're getting into key pieces that through natural water improvement, always would be options on the next. Thanks, everyone.
In the presentation, I've been asked to let you know that the paper cups you didn't get out of the trash, not recycled. They have plastic inside of them, so that was my message for this pretty funny. It's very important. I want to congratulate Saturday San Sam Management Group and warehousing. I heard that you guys are so good, so closely together the Watershed. I think partnerships like this are absolutely crucial to getting the Watershed back on track. Also, I'd like you to think a little bit about, we talk a lot about keeping sediment from going into the capital. What happens when the estuaries restore? Are we still going to be trying to regulate sediment as much as we're trying to regulate it now? Because estuaries are fan out sediment, basically. We need that sediment in the lower river. So